They sentenced him to 5 years in prison without a single witness, no physical evidence, and no criminal record. Just 11 minutes in courtroom 4C, and it was done. Davante Ellis stood silently, hand behind his back, trying to process what just happened. Judge Malcolm Reese barely looked at him before dropping the gavel. 5 years. No parole. Next case. Davante's face didn't change. But something in the room shifted, an uneasiness, like everyone felt the weight of something they couldn't name. The charge? Obstruction and resisting arrest. No gun. No drugs. Just a bruise on Davante's temple and torn sleeves from the night Carson County deputies slammed him against his car. He hadn't even known why. No Miranda rights. No explanation. Just a vague claim, you match a description. It happened October 9th. Davante had driven in from Austin to attend his sister's wedding. He stopped at a gas station off Route 61 to grab a soda. Surveillance shows him entering the store, paying in cash, and walking out. 45 seconds later, 2 deputies tackled him. Said he stole something. But the clerk denied it. Said there was no theft. Still, they charged him, just with something else. In the courtroom, his public defender didn't challenge anything. No mention of the bruises. No objection to the weak arrest report. When the body cam footage was offered as optional, the judge declined to view it. Davante never even got to speak. He didn't resist. But they called him violent. Didn't fight. They called him dangerous. What the judge didn't know, or didn't bother to read, was listed on page 4 of the intake file. Emergency contact, Governor Marcus Ellis. Was the sitting governor of Texas, and Davante Ellis was his younger brother. 20 minutes after the sentence was handed down, a call came through to the judge's chambers. Judge Reese picked up, annoyed. Then the voice on the other end changed everything. Judge Reese? This is Governor Ellis. I need to speak with you about my Br. Brother. The line went quiet. Reese froze. His eyes darted to the folder still on his desk. Flipping through pages with shaking hands, he found it, the contact sheet he'd ignored. The name was there, clear as day. Davante Marcus Ellis. Brother to the most powerful man in the state. The judge paled. His fingers trembled. He hadn't known. Or maybe he hadn't cared enough to look. And now the fallout has begun. News of the conviction hit social media that night. Then the arrest footage leaked. People saw Davante slammed face-first into concrete. Heard him cry out, "I can't breathe, man, what did I even do?" They watched as deputies laughed while cuffing him. By morning, protesters were outside Carson County Courthouse with signs reading, #FreeDavante, and, "This is what racism looks like." The courtroom that had once laughed behind closed doors was now surrounded by cameras and fury. What shocked everyone most wasn't just the sentencing, it was Davante's silence. He never said who he was. Never called his brother. Never pulled rank. When a journalist finally asked him why, his answer was clear. Because I wanted to see how they'd treat me when they thought I was nobody. And they did. They treated him like a criminal. Like a threat. Like he didn't matter. Governor Ellis immediately ordered a full investigation. Every ruling Judge Reese had handed down over the last decade was pulled for review. A disturbing trend emerged: black defendants, overwhelmingly over-sentenced, routinely silenced, often denied even basic evidence reviews. Then the email dropped. An internal court memo surfaced, dated 3 months prior. Judge Reese had replied to a clerk asking whether to grant a continuance in a different case. The message read, "Black kid? Baggy hoodie? Lock him up. They're all the same." It went viral. The judge tried to deny it. Then backtracked. Then stopped speaking altogether. But the damage was done. People began stepping forward. Dozens of former defendants.
All with similar stories. Pushed through the system. No trial. No mercy. Yet, Devante still sat behind bars. The appeal was filed. But these things take time. And power, even when it wants to move fast, moves like molasses when it means admitting it was wrong. Late one night, Devante's sister visited him. She asked, "Why didn't you fight back?" He replied, "Because if I had, they'd have said I deserved it." And then he said something else. Quiet. Almost too soft to hear. "This isn't just about me." It never was. But there's more to this story. Because just 2 days before the appeal hearing, a file landed on the governor's desk. Sealed. No return address. Inside were photos. Time-stamped messages. Surveillance screenshots. Proof that Devante's arrest may not have been just mistaken identity. It may have been planned. The sealed envelope arrived without a name. No stamps. No postmark. Just a thick, yellow folder hand-delivered to the governor's desk at 2:37 a.m., while security cameras mysteriously glitched for a full 7 minutes. Inside, 21 photos. 3 flash drives. A single note typed in bold. It wasn't random. He was marked. Governor Marcus Ellis stared at the contents, his pulse quickening. Each image was more disturbing than the last. Devante, his own brother, appeared in multiple photos weeks before his arrest, caught in candid surveillance-style shots. Sitting in a cafe. Walking out of his apartment. Talking on the phone. These weren't ordinary pictures. Someone had been tracking him. Attached to the back of the folder was a sealed police report, never filed, detailing a confidential, pre-watched list. One name stood out in all caps, Devante M. Ellis. Listed as a potential instigator, connected to political demonstrations. Except there was one major problem. Devante had never attended a protest in his life. Governor Ellis ordered a private team to analyze the flash drives. The contents shattered everything. There were encrypted voice memos. Video clips. Copies of internal Carson County Sheriff emails. One file, dated 2 days before Devante's arrest, was especially damning. It showed Deputy Holt, the same officer who tackled Devante, speaking to Judge Reese on a Zoom call. Judge Reese said, "Make it stick. You know who he is. Just don't make it obvious." Holt replied, "We got eyes. He's on the list. I'll handle it." That list. The same list now sitting in the governor's hands. A list his own brother was never supposed to know about. A list apparently crafted by members of law enforcement, without state oversight. Devante wasn't just a victim of racism. He was the target of a coordinated setup. Meanwhile, back in Carson County Jail, Devante received an anonymous envelope of his own. Inside was a black and white photo, grainy, old, and creased. It showed a younger Judge Reese, arm in arm with a man Devante recognized instantly, Senator Charles Wintham, the governor's fiercest political rival. But what made Devante freeze wasn't just the image. It was what was scrawled on the back. Follow the judge. He didn't do this alone. That same night, a mysterious fire broke out inside the judge's personal office at the courthouse. Sprinklers failed. Security tapes were corrupted. The fire destroyed every case file Judge Reese had kept in his private archive. All physical records, gone. But not before someone had already leaked their contents online. Hundreds of sealed court documents were now circulating. Many had been illegally altered. Sentences changed. Evidence omitted. Dozens of names, mostly black men, were flagged as wrongfully convicted. One detail stood out. In nearly every case, the arresting officers were the same, Deputies Holt and Ramirez. And many of those arrested had ties to Governor Ellis's early campaign efforts. This wasn't just bias anymore. This was political warfare disguised as justice. By day 4, protests erupted in multiple Texas cities. Devante's face was everywhere, on posters, news banners, social feeds. But inside the governor's mansion, Marcus Ellis made a desperate decision. He scheduled a secret meeting with the one man who could confirm the truth, former Deputy Chief Alan Graves. Graves had mysteriously resigned 6 months ago. Whispers said it was over corruption. Others claimed he'd been silenced. They met in a secured lot, 2 black SUVs blocking the alley. Graves was gaunt. Nervous. He handed the governor a single microchip and said, "You didn't know. But they've been building this for years." On the chip was audio from an internal briefing, dated back to 2020. A task force had been formed in secret. Not under the governor's office, but under Judicial Oversight Committee 9. A rogue faction buried within the state bureaucracy. Their goal, monitor and suppress political threats. The orders: use legal leverage, arrest records, tarnish reputations, control public opinion. The name on the directive? Judge Malcolm Reese. Back in his cell, Devante sat across from his new lawyer, hand-picked by the governor himself. She reviewed the files, her face changing with every document. "They tried to erase you," she whispered. "But they made a mistake. They left digital footprints. And we're going to follow every one." But just as hope returned, a guard approached. "Ellis. You've got a visitor." Private room. Devante followed. Inside sat a woman in a sharp gray suit. No ID. No introduction. Just one question: do you want to take them down, or disappear? He stared at her. "What do you mean?" She placed a folder on the table. Inside, a passport. A ticket. A new identity. "If you stay, they'll come for you again. This goes higher than your brother. Higher than the judge. You don't know who you're dealing with." Devante leaned forward. "Yeah. Well, now they don't know who they're dealing with either." She smiled. Cold. Almost impressed. "You have 24 hours." But before he could leave that room, the lights went out. Complete darkness. Then, screaming from the hallway. From the hallway. Guards running. Radios buzzing. A code red lockdown blared across the prison speakers. Then silence. The lawyer? Gone. The folder? Gone. And when the emergency lights flickered on, there was a message scratched into the mirror behind him. "Told you not to stay." Who is really behind? Should Jason walk or fight back? Comment below. Follow part 2 because the truth is about to exposed.